Hi everybody, down in the lair. Hey, before I get started, about a year and a half ago, I showed you this video.
Oh, look at this. It's a Zenith. Okay. You have it up on my bench.
Well, to save time, I pulled the chassis out of the furniture. When I pulled it out, I saw two things that were one was not so surprising and one was. The one that wasn't so surprising is, I remember when I was trying to turn the tuning knob, nobody was home. Well, I think this was probably the root cause of that. So anyway, I just got on the web, and thanks to some nice folks in Rhode Island, I've got that. That's the dial belt replacement. Now, the good news is that someone already serviced this thing, and I put it up on a Variac, and it actually plays. Now, whether it was aligned or not, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be done. But I think for today, I'm just going to put on a dial belt, and you're going to watch me. So let's get to it. Okay, so here's the chassis on top of my my shop bench here, and I've got the camera trying to get a look down on it. One thing you can see clearly, the other thing I'd have to flip over to show it to you, but I'm just going to describe it, and you'll have to take my word for it. But okay, well, I'm going to bring my little wooden pointer here, and right here is where I got my pointer. That is where the dial belt's going to have to go across, right there where I'm rubbing this stick back and forth. You can see there's like a little guide here. Well, that's where the old leather dial belt went. There's a corresponding one way down low under here where we can't see, and the light's not so hot. I can even try to bring a light over and improve it. I don't know if that's, I can't see it too well on the camera, but there's actually a looks like kind of a spring tensioner that pulley's got to go around on the bottom of that there. But irregardless of how I do this, one thing that's for certain is that this front dial is going to have to come off. Now I'm holding the tripod at the moment, but let me just describe what's going on. Now if you have a tabletop version of this radio, whether it's a 5-tube, 6-tube, whatever, sometimes the glass has clips around here to hold the dial glass on, but because it's a chair side, the glass stays with the furniture, so to speak. And it kind of just, it kind of lays in here. Okay, and then there's a gasket. Now this gasket actually goes all the way around, but since this was also made in 1938, the gasket probably fell apart. And it looks like it's been apart before because around the dial scale, it's kind of hard to see. Let me go zoom in a little bit. Let me get a better picture of it so you can see what I'm dealing with. Up here where it looks kind of white, right here, that's actually, somebody had put some sort of adhesive on it. Maybe just to keep things from not rattling or whatever. But irregardless, the dial cover has to come off because otherwise I got to run the new dial belt through the front here and down and around that pulley to make this whole thing play out. So I'm gonna carefully take this off, and then I'll let you see what it looks like without all this rigmarole being on here. After you get the dial cover off, you're going to see this. Now, whether it's a chair side or a tabletop or a console, this is what you're going to have to deal with. In this case, I have 3 screws that have to come off. There are 2, in this particular radio's got a clip here on the side that's screwed in. I don't have to worry about that. But these 2 guys here and here are just basically reflective to get the whole dial lit up. There's 2 lights, one on either side of that. So the lights come off. You could leave these 2 guys on there and then just take these 3 screws off, and then this whole assembly should come off rather easily. All right, after the 3 screws come out, I'm showing you the back of the cover there. But I neglected to say that these 3 spaces were there, so I wanted to show them off to you. So when you pull these screws off, you can see how long they are. They go through the spacer, and then they ultimately, I'm going to change the camera view here so you can see it. Here, let me get in there. Okay, And you could probably see in the picture there's one, here, let me get my pointer. There's one up here, right there. So spacer right's against there, and the threads are in the bread slicer. There's one here, and one down low. But now this is out of the way, you could clearly see, let me rip this out a little bit, get the light. Okay, now you can probably see that really well. Okay, so you can see where the belt has to go. There's a pulley there on the pointer, and then there's that spring-loaded pulley down low. So now getting that on there shouldn't be difficult at all. So here's the new dial belt that came from Quality Radio Dial Belts. Let me give you that. So when you open up the envelope, this is what you find. This is probably about the 4th or 5th dial belt I bought from these folks. And voila. I don't know what that means in French. My wife took French in school. I took Spanish. So there you go. There's the dial belt, the new dial belt. All right. And now it just has to simply go on the radio. I don't remember if I ever did one of these before or not, but there's actually 2 pulleys on the bottom. Okay. And the one I was showing you was the tensioner, which is actually here where I got the pointer. So it's got to run around this pulley. And then it's got, what I did was I put this one on first, reached around, went over the pin, came down and put it on where the indicator is going to show it. And then the tensioner kind of seen a lot, of course, it kind of sort of lined up on its own. But now I could take it, and it's actually turning the bread slicer on top, and it's also tuning the pointer. And it's all back together now. And I had to do, let me just turn around so you can see.
Think about these, like the New York Times, final New York Times.
That's WOR 710.
Made up stories. I saw him lying when he was in the administration.
That's Donald Trump on WABC. So everything's happy. The dial tuning is working wonderfly. That's WNYC in New York. And this is all with a very, very short, cobbled together antenna. So, anyhow, let me explain what went on here to get this to fruition. So, I gotta do some explaining here. I didn't get the video every step that I had to do from that point on to get the radio done. Basically, life got in the way. There was doctor appointments. There was all kinds of stuff going on. It would be too numerous to name. So it's actually been a week since I did the video. So I haven't had a lot of time to play with radios. Needless to say, here's what happened to the chairside. As you saw previously, I stated that I had to run. When I showed you the routing of the belt, that I went around the tensioner, and that's basically how the original belt was, the original leather belt was routed through the radio. There was a problem with that. And where the problem lied in was that when I put the new belt on there, and it's no fault of the manufacturer of the new belt, the neoprene belt, but what it was that there was a pulley in the way, and there was a nut in front of the pulley, and the new dial belt was rubbing against it, and it actually created a little bit extra force. So as a result, the direct result was it was slipping a little bit because it was rubbing against that pulley and that nut on the end of the pulley. So my fix is that I just took, the belt had enough tension that I took it off that pulley, which also allowed the new belt to gain some distance away from that nut, so that it was just a straight run and it wasn't rubbing against anything. Again, it's not a fault of radio dial belts or anything like that. What it was that the way that was designed by Zenith was with the leather belt was flat, and with the tensioner and with that running around, it went around the nut that was sticking out of one of the gears in the front of the tuning assembly. So that was my fix, was just not to use the tensioner, and it still had plenty of tension. Also, the radio was electrically okay. I would not have done it the same way that the repair person did, but it was fine. It was a good repair, and it made the radio work just fine. All new caps, and just, you know, it was okay. The only thing I did find that was really out of it needed an alignment in the worst possible way. Once I did the alignment, which the IFs on that is 456. I had one of the screws, I forget on which IF, I think it was on the second IF. I had to turn that like a complete half a turn, and when I did, the radio woke up dramatically. So it plays very, very well on the AM and shortwave bands, even with this cobbled little crappy antenna that I put on there. And the other thing I had a problem with is that the original felt gasket, so in other words, where the glass lays up against that white metal round, half round thing where the dial lights went in, there was a felt gasket that went in between the dial glass and that ring. Well, what happened was that the felt gasket was so old it was falling apart. So I kind of poked around the web to see if I could find one. And when you know, Retro Radio Repairer in Georgia, my friend Mark, he had them. And I was just great. He also carries a lot of dial covers. So shout out and kudos to Mark, Retro Radio Repair. If you need a dial cover or one of those gaskets, he has them for some of the Zeniths. So, you know, that was just a pleasant surprise. I've had a feeling I was have to make one or something like that. And it was just kind of a soft, cushy kind of thing. And I placed it in there. It was die cut. And I placed it in there, it fit perfectly, and I was able to get the dial glass safely on and got all the clips and everything to hold the dial glass in, and then life is good. So then it was just a matter of putting the chassis and the speaker back in the radio. So it's all together now, and things are fine. Thank you very, very much for watching, and please forgive me for not being a little more, have a little more stuff in it that to show you what I was doing. But it just got to be a little bit crazy. So it just sometimes these things happen. It's life happens. So I want to put more videos out to entertain you, but sometimes I just don't have the time, and it's crazy. I find myself trying to do whatever I can, even in retirement, to just utilize my time better. So these things happen. So take care. Thank you for watching, and give a thumbs up if you like what you saw. And very soon, the next video coming, which I know because I have to do it tomorrow. This is Friday. I forget what day this is today. Gotta look at my phone. Today is Friday wait a minute, still don't have the date. Friday the 25th. So tomorrow, I'll be doing the last repair clinic of the year for the New Jersey Antique Radio Club. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming in a day or two. So take care, and thanks for watching again. Bye-bye.